All right, we will go ahead and get started. I think everybody's here. Dr. Bonebreak, here he is. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. But before we do that, do we want to make sure we have a moment of silence for two individuals in particular? One is Mr. Bean, who's a longtime employee at Chase Middle School, right? And I believe I talked to my daughter, she knew him personally, spoke highly of him, and as well as the family of Dr. Gray, who suffered a loss this week. I think affected all of us in a number of ways. So if you would please have a moment of silence for these two families. Thank you all very much. It's times like this that we realize that this isn't just a school district, but as a family. And when we are a family, we go through situations like this that pulls us together and stronger. So thank you all very much for that moment of silence. Next on our item on our agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Anderson, do we have any volunteers today?
We do. Miss Watson and her children, and I already gave them a treat. I helped myself to the drinks back there. So they got their drinks and snacks, and they are all warmed up. Miss Watson, can you come forward with your children?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much to our two amazing volunteers. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
All right, there is a motion. Is there a second? Okay, Mrs. Stewart Campbell with the second. Any questions, discussion? All right, moving on, we'll have a vote. Ms. Lister.
Vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Next item here is school highlights. Dr. Anderson.
Well, this is our favorite part of the board meeting. So we're going to turn this over to Mr. Seitz to begin our school highlights. Mr. Seitz, I'm going to hand you the microphone.
First of all, Mr. President and distinguished board members, thank you for allowing us to present this evening. Appreciate that. I just want to make a couple quick comments before I jump into the presentation. Just quickly, but Nathaniel Shaffer is our custodial supervisor, and he came on really almost his entire tenure has been with the pandemic. So he had to come in and tackle quite a challenge because, as we know, the safety of all of our employees and all of our students is of utmost importance. And that includes their health, and that includes all the way down to the type of disinfecting and cleaning practices that we practice in our schools every day. And I want to commend this young man because he came in, he hit the ground running. He quickly established the proper protocols. He made sure they were put in place. He made sure they were communicated well. And then he made sure on the follow through that they were practicing what he was preaching, so to speak. And so again, thank you, Nate, for all your efforts in coming in at a difficult time. Next point I want to make, and but I want to speak on behalf of not just the custodians. I want to speak on behalf of our district custodians, every one of them. The custodians across the entire nation, and even across countries. In my book, they should be viewed as heroes. They absolutely should, because they were out in front in an uncertain time, putting themselves at risk while they were making sure that they were, again, disinfecting, cleaning, and doing all the necessary things to keep our students safe. So thank all. I thank all. So most of you are all familiar, I'm sure, with Wheel of Fortune. And so Nate's going to be my evangelist, so to speak, so that as we announce each location and I introduce them, and then at the end, he'll give them their trophy. So we're going to start with Highland Park High School, the principal there. Principal there is Julie Watson, and the head building operator is Marcus Clark.
I'm gonna wait to come up, but can you stand so that they at least know who you are before you come up?
Okay. In addition, Larry Wilson is their night supervisor. If anyone's here, stand up. If not, I'll still acknowledge you. Remaining 8-hour custodians, extra friendly. Did I say that right? Burnley? No, it's Billy Cunningham, Keegan Funnel, and Jeremy Knox. Did I leave anyone out? So that's everybody. And I just want to brag a little bit on Highland Park. Whenever I started in the school district, there were a lot of challenges. When we transitioned with Marcus Clark as the head building operator, and then we brought Larry Wilson in as the high school, there was an immediate impact in how well that they started to keep that school. And they have continued to do that year in and year out to the point where now here we are. Congratulations. Thank you for your good efforts. Next is Robinson Middle School. Principal is Tim Leffert. And head building operator is Colleen Riggs. In addition, 8-hour custodian is Mark Garcia. We have a nice one. So now Robinson, if you want to talk going way back to, for instance, sports dynasties like the Boston Celtics or, you know, the LA Lakers or all those things, well, Robinson's the dynasty in our district because under Colleen's supervision, I would challenge anyone to walk through that school and find anything dirty. They do an outstanding job, and so they are repeat winners every year. Thank you, Phil. Next is Whitson Elementary School. Principal is Keelan Pierce. building operator is Ramon Lamas. And then they also have their night person, Jordan, and I apologize. This is exactly what Dan felt it was. Jordan V, there we go. Okay, so again, Whitson's another fine example. They're a repeat again of how we should keep our buildings and schools looking. And then finally, in what we call our specialty buildings, even though this is a school, the Capital City and Hope Street in that category, Capital City High School. And the principal, Erin McCoy, I don't think she needs an introduction. And I'm not as flamboyant as she is. And then the head building operator, their 8-hour custodian is Orlando basically. So with that, do you want them to now? Or how would you like that? Sure, absolutely.
Oh, hello. Yes. Hi, I'm Tim Leffer, the principal at Robinson Middle School. Colleen Riggs is my building operator, and I just started there a few years ago. And it turns out that she's been doing a great job long before I came and still does an excellent job every day. So.
It's like Woodson Elementary right now.
All right. I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Ramon Lamas, and we both started 8 years ago at Whitson together and had a lot under our belts, and he continues to shine and win multiple times.
It's like Cap City. You don't get the microphone. You had your chance.
I'll just talk loud.
Good evening. Good to see you guys again. I am so excited to introduce Gary Sumner, and he is a Triple Crown winner. So like the Yankees and the Bulls of the 90s, this is the third year in a row that we have won the specialty building, and it's because of this man right here. And I made him this t-shirt, and his cohort has this t-shirt because man, get a t-shirt or something, right? Like everybody's like, don't I get a shirt? Yeah, at Cap City, you get a shirt. So Gary is amazing and a wonderful person, works with our kids. He'll do anything we ask him to. So it goes way beyond just keeping the place clean.
And last but not least, Highland Park.
They saved the best for last. So I'm going to bring up Marcus Clark and Willie, and Larry over there, Wilson. Come on up because they are the lead, but I want the whole team to come up because it takes a village. We have the most amazing team. I cannot ask for better. I cannot ask for better. You guys are going to get a little speech here because they're not only good at what they do, they're so optimistic and positive when they do it. Like all of our teachers know and love them. We have new staff come in and they already have nicknames for them and pictures with them. They've been here 1-2 days. Our team's just incredible and I would want no other team. This is it right here.
Start the convocation video, the whole video, just press play. Got it. Just press play, that'll make it.
This year, I will not be talking about test scores as much as I'll be talking about people. I believe that you will make this year amazing. I believe that every student will feel such love because of you. That's a reminder of invested people. I believe in you.
I feel great. I think we're getting off to a rolling start. I think there's a lot of good things happening. We're ready, and it's time to start the learning process again.
It's really good because it put a sense of unity and camaraderie to everyone, and as a new teacher, it feels like I'm being welcomed really warmly. So I love it, really love it being here in Topeka.
It feels so good to be together, unified as a district and to celebrate together. We are ready. We are ready to go. We are ready for our children to get there. Let's go.
That's just a sneak peek. That's the other highlight. We had to mention something this evening. That video will be polished off and a few more additions will be made to that, and that will go out on Monday. We have the Flickr photos for schools that want to download some of the photos from today, or other individuals or board members. That was just posted this evening on our Facebook, and we just had just an amazing time. So that's just a small highlight of the convocation. With that, that does conclude our highlights, sir. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Munoz.
Thank you very much. Well, that was quite a highlight. It's always great to be able to see those who are in our schools who keep our students, our kids safe and do it with dedication. So thank you all very much. Next item on our agenda is public communication. Ms. Lister, do we have any public communication? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 7, disposition of business by consent. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
Thank you very much. There is a motion. Is there a second? All right, second by Dr. Schumacher. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Ms. Lister. Thank you very much. Moving down the list of items on our agenda. Next item is 19, superintendent's report. Dr. Anderson.
Thank you. The first item is our academic achievement report. So we have East Topekans presenting. Ms. Watson was here for the award, so she's staying for as part of that East Topekan presentation. We're going to pull the PowerPoint up. Based on one of our House Bill new legislative mandates, we really are required to make sure every school talks to you about their action plan. While we do it in writing, they all are coming together as one community. The only thing is we put Scott with the rest of the dual language, Landon and T. Hyde. So you're going to hear from them next week. But for this week, I'm going to turn it over to our administrators, and they prepared information to share what all East Topekan schools looked at in terms of needs assessment, what all the schools in East Topeka looked at in terms of barriers, and then what all of the East Topekan schools are going to do alike this year in terms of action plans. I'll turn it over to our administrators to first introduce themselves, and they are on Zoom in light of pandemic. They didn't want to have 15, 20 schools all with their APs here. So administrators, I'll turn it over to you to start introducing yourself.
Hello, my name is Scott Schwartz, and I'm the principal at Eisenhower Middle School.
Hello, I'm Tracy Keegan. I'm the assistant principal at Eisenhower Middle School.
Hi, I'm Jana Abernathy. I'm the principal at Highland Park Central.
Good evening. I'm Carrie Ritter, principal at Williams Science and Fine Arts Magnet.
Diane Denmark. I'm the assistant principal at Williams Science and Fine Arts Magnet School.
Hello, I'm Jolie Crow. I am the principal at Quincy Elementary.
I'm Yvonne Spalding. I'm the principal at Chase Middle School.
And I am Robert Gay, the assistant principal at Chase Middle School.
I'm Paige Roberts, principal at State Street Elementary.
I'm Sarah Miller, the assistant principal at State Street Elementary.
Hi, I'm Nick Gardner, principal at Ross Elementary.
Hi, I'm Danae Forsberg, Dean of Students at Highland Park Central.
Julie Watson, principal of Highland Park High School.
With those introductions, we'll turn it over to our administrators at the very end. They'll answer questions that you have. Now, next board meeting, we'll have the Central and West Side schools present. And then we also will be sharing just an overview of here's where all of our schools are and giving you some additional information before we have our budget hearing in September. So I'll turn it over to our administrators.
Tonight, we're going to share with you the unique needs and barriers and action plans for the East Topeka track. It includes 8 schools. You just heard them all. It's Highland Park High School, Chase Middle School and Eisenhower Middle School, State Street, Ross, Highland Park Central and Quincy Elementaries, and Williams Science and Fine Arts Magnet.
So to get started, I'm going to present the East Topeka Needs Assessment. The items here listed are community listening tours, ongoing parent communications such as porch visits, family engagement events and community events, climate surveys, increased student communication, and staffing hiring practices.
All right, and I am sharing on East Topeka barriers. We find that attendance, mobility, and truancy to be a barrier, communication barriers such as bilingual challenges, technology, education, family engagement, large numbers of special education, English learners, and at-risk students, poverty, and families and students with trauma.
And having gone over the needs and barriers, this is the action plan that we have as a team. Welcoming of families by inviting families to back to school events and ongoing family engagement events. Collaborate with feeder schools, mentoring, AIM, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers and Sisters, high school mentors, and increase monitoring of services. We now, increase para salaries, utilizing general education interventions, follow comprehensive integrated 3-tiered plan with fidelity, timely exit of special services. We now open for questions.
So we're going to take that off the slide and try to get to where we can see all of the administrators, if that's possible. And I believe any other administrators in the room. And so as we open this up to our board, any questions that you have, this is really intended to be a bit of a dialogue about any particular barriers you want them to talk about, or if someone is a new administrator, any one of them will just jump in the way they deem that they're most called to based on your question. But if you have a question about a specific school or area, please direct that to them directly. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Munoz, to have some dialogue with our East Topeka schools.
Thank you so much. Questions for our administrators here? Yes, Mr. Tatum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess first of all, I want to commend the entire group for putting together some thoughtful work here on how to move the East Topeka schools forward. And I guess my question probably for you, Ms. Watson, not specifically about Highland Park, but since you're here in the room, on the action plan, and you covered that a moment ago. One of the action items was to increase monitoring of services. Just wondering if you could unpack that a bit, and that's pretty broad. I wonder if you could tell us some specifics, maybe some specific benchmarks under that action item to that this group is kind of focused on accomplishing.
Well, one thing I know that we all have a lot of resources, and part of that is bringing them together and finding out what areas are not being covered. A lot of times we're doubling up over the same things. So if we're monitoring and paying attention to what every area is doing, we're able to determine where we still need to meet those needs.
Thank you for that. Could you give some couple of specific examples?
And Mr. Tatum, and as she does that, can I also invite a couple of other administrators? I see some hands up as well to answer that, which I know when they're not in the room, you don't really know who wants to speak. As you prepare to answer that, any other administrators want to jump in regards to the increased monitoring of services overall, in addition to not duplicating services? Ms. Crow, did you want to talk about special ed?
Part of monitoring services are including our special education consulting teachers into our data consults and looking at our data and making sure that we are providing services appropriately and that we are meeting benchmarks with our students and increasing the rigor of our progress monitoring. So really increasing that rigor within our special education department and introducing and inviting our consulting teacher into looking at our data and making sure that that is a collaborative effort amongst all stakeholders.
Wanted to jump in on that question. I think part of it was specificity of some examples, in addition to just in general, any comments on increased services for your building or monitoring of such that you want to mention.
Yes. So for progress monitoring, we are making sure that our students are making progress within our year and looking at whether services are being successful. So specifically looking at students and growth, when we look at the correlation for specific examples, state assessments and their growth on that compared to their services, and finding the successfulness of what we're doing. If it's not being successful, how can we change that, and how can we bring in new supports and services so that we are making that growth and not just continuing to do the same thing and kind of keeping in that pattern.
Great. Thank you so much.
Other questions for our administrators? Ms. Bowie?
Hold on now, here I come. So I wanted to know, how did you create your needs assessments? What individuals, was there any community piece in there? How did you come up with your needs assessment? Yeah, I'm sorry, I must not have asked that very well.
We get information from multiple areas. It's not just about what we think it is. We have to validate that with students, and we have the SRSS data that shows where they are. We have a PTO that we've been creating and getting information from. We have our site team. We have our teachers during PLC and collaborations. We literally have areas, every single, area that you can think of, outside community members. We have families and guardians, teachers, students, staff, everywhere. And then we bring it together as a team. So we have our leadership team that goes through that information and pulls it together into themes. And then we take those themes and we target those themes with strategies to use to enhance them.
Thank you for that answer. What PD are you thinking that your buildings are going to need? And I know that's probably individual, but are you thinking that there's going to be a lot of professional development to help your staff accomplish these areas?
We're going to open this up to someone on the screen who wants to talk about what kind of staff development this year do you anticipate giving to address some of the needs that you're finding in your community?
One of the things that we're doing in middle schools is having Boys Town training. All 6 middle schools are having that, and we will implement that, which will help us with targeting some of those social emotional needs and understanding better where that's coming from. Is it a breakdown in academic ability? Is it trauma from the home? Things like that. And so the Boys Town professional development will be a full day training, but then we also have daily PLC times where we can visit that throughout the year to look back on what those things are. We also have the second step. There's a social emotional learning curriculum team that this summer designed lessons and specifics so that we're doing that across the district. And then we can see the impact of that in our SRSS data when we're looking at those social emotional scores and how they're impacted throughout the year.
In the same light, we focus on CI3T training, and that makes sure that we are targeting every single student. So we have the bottom 80% that don't really need much support. They have tier 1 supports, which would be classroom help and things that all students could have. And then we have the second tier that maybe they need just an extra class of reading support or math support. And then there's very few that need that third tier, and that's going into maybe resource classes or areas that are just targeted to them. So we are looking at all children when we're doing this.
How about elementary? I heard high school, middle school. What is elementary looking at?
I can speak to that for HPC a little bit. One thing we are, along with the CI3T that she just spoke about, we are also retraining staff in all those aspects. With that, we are going to redo our GEI system so that we become more data focused and we can track those students better and see what interventions are working, not working. And it kind of goes along with the timely exit of special education services. We don't want to over-identify students either. We want to be able to have them have a timely exit off GEI because that is our goal.
GEI standing for General Education Intervention Services.
Yes, thank you.
And are we looking at extended hours? I don't think I saw that in the PowerPoint. Did I miss that?
They already have, and everyone on the screen has before and after school. That's not a new item. That's something that they all do. And then we require that they turn in a plan in that regard. So there's already twilight type school and before school services. Thank you for mentioning that. The programs that they mentioned with Boys and Girls Club and things like that are also, some of those are also after school, but tutoring and those tutoring plans have been submitted by all of these schools on the screen.
And do we have an outreach of using people in our community? I know we have a lot of faith-based people who'd like to volunteer. Is this part of our plan as well?
In terms of talking about outreach, anyone on the screen who really hasn't said much yet, who'd like to talk about outreach for their particular school or community. We've already heard from Ross, although we know Ross is on the screen as well. But we're going to turn it over to anyone else who wants to talk about outreach in the community.
I can speak to that just a little bit. You know, at Eisenhower, we have made several connections with community partners, and we continue to increase that every year. One thing we did last year new, and I know it's been spoken to you all before, but that's our AIM group that Mr. Gardner started at Eisenhower. With that group, we brought in several community partners to mentor the students. And so we've made some great connections there. And this year, Mr. Gardner, he's at Ross, and we plan on expanding that to both schools, Ross and Eisenhower. So we will continue to connect with our community partners in the community.
On Mr. Gardner, I know you just had a handful of community partners at your building. Would you like to elaborate any further?
Yeah, I can kind of go over our first day back at Ross. It was pretty impactful. We had Advisors Excel, Southwest Publishing, Boys and Girls Club, Countryside Methodist Church. They all purchased or supported us with their financials and time and welcomed our staff back. And it was pretty neat and significant to see just the impact our community had, and then ultimately help with this culture at Ross.
That concludes their overall information. Unless there are additional questions, as we know, we have a DCAC report next, but if there are additional questions, they're ready to answer those and they're excited about getting started.
Other questions from the board? Yeah, Ms. Stewart Campbell.
Thank you all so much for being here and presenting and just availing yourselves to answer our questions. So my question is, of this needs assessment and your goals, what do you envision to be the most challenging? And follow up to that, how can the district and we as a board support you for what you think may be the most challenging?
Can I ask Highland Park High to answer that first, since that's one of the higher free lunch schools?
I would say one of our challenges is to get more parents and guardians involved. And it's a goal, it's a challenge, it's a barrier, it's all parts. We are working together. We've enhanced our parent involvement team, and we now have bilingual teachers that are on it that are going to help us create plans to invite more parents in a way that they will feel comfortable, because a lot of the time it's focused on people who speak English, and we miss out on those parents that only speak Spanish, and that can't be comforting. So we have a focus of being bilingual in all that we do. So that is our challenge and that is our goal. And we're going to try and break through those barriers.
For State Street, an elementary school, would you like to, Dr. Roberts, to share what you see as a challenge and some thoughts you have around that?
Well, it's not Dr. Roberts yet, but maybe one day I will be Dr. Roberts. And so at State Street, Sarah and I have really worked hard this year to come out of the chute together as a team and really celebrate our staff, getting them on board. One of the things that we did was establish or reestablish our mission, our vision, and our values. And at the very beginning of that, I said, stand up if you've been here to establish these three things at State Street. And 3 people stood up. So we knew that we needed to start fresh with our team, get everyone on board. We got so much positive feedback from that. We felt like that was really step 1 to make a difference and start moving our staff and our teachers to really make that turn academically. And so now we're digging in, we're scheduling meetings, and we are ready to dive in to make a difference both in reading and math, because those are our biggest challenges based on our CAP scores. And the goals that we set for our staff this year are aggressive because we are setting high standards and holding ourselves to those high standards. But we have that roadmap now in place to get there. And so with the enthusiasm around that, we really feel positive about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You know, one of the things that I feel, and I could be off, but is that many of our teachers give 110%, and that what I'm hearing from you all is that not only are they giving everything they can, but they're also investing in themselves and being able to learn, to be able to be attuned to the needs of students. And I wonder, there are a limited number, it seems like, of organizations that have already demonstrated support of our schools. And what other processes might we need to be in place to be able to engage as many potential supporters, volunteers? Does anyone have any ideas? For instance, Ross Elementary had a couple of community partners, but I wonder, are there others who we're missing right now who might be willing and able, if we had only had a process to be able to reach others beyond the sort of the usual volunteers who already demonstrated? If you've paid attention to social media, there's a number of different organizations that have volunteered and put together backpacks, so there's demonstrated desire by a number of individuals to help our students. I wonder, for those who are online, what processes might be created to help get at others who could help support our students outside of the classroom?
So I'm gonna turn that over to Highland Park High. She has a family event activity that or an engagement activity coming up, but she'll share, and that's new and different. And then there was a piece about students and hearing from students. So that's new and different in terms of how do you get other people to come in. And of course, they were the first ones that came to the first listening tour at the coffee house. So I'll turn it over to you to just share how do you get other people involved and engaged in the community?
Well, this weekend is going to be full and enriching, and we're excited. There's a lot of greatness coming up. Saturday is the back to school bash in my head because that's what it was last year, but where the community comes together and every piece of it. So the churches and the organizations are all giving out pieces of materials that students need. They have backpacks and pencils and rulers and everything they could use for school. And the students will actually walk around and meet each individual and talk to them for a second, get their school supply, move on. And we had over 1,000 students last year. We weren't expecting that many, and it was pretty awesome. So we're hoping that we have even more this year. And then also on Sunday, we have our Freshman Sunday event. And what I've learned about having events with parents where they can just relax and learn is that you build partnerships with them to where they want to get back. And my example of that is there was a parent who had a homeschooled kid who came in. They were both terrified. And so by the end of the tour I gave them, she's already started to sign up to volunteer with my Girl Up Empowerment group on grief counseling because she does grief counseling. And so I think that if we bring them in and we talk to them, they will help support.
Thank you very much. Others, any ideas for processes that we might be able to sort of look at and create to help to engage others who would be predisposed and likely to support our students?
If you don't mind, I'll speak on behalf of Williams Magnet School. We are working hard to gain a lot of traction on our social media. And so that has worked worlds for us. And so we will continue to do that. But Ms. Ritter and I have also taken a slightly different approach in making connections with community partnerships where we're not simply approaching it as though what the organization can do for us, but what can Williams Magnet do for you? I mean, we have a very fortunate setup at our school where we have a greenhouse. So can we start plants for your garden, or what can we do for you to further grow just the back and forth partnership between us and our community?
And if you don't mind me adding to that, we met with Midland Care. They came in and they were asking for volunteers to build our students up also. And so we're trying to come up with a plan for our students to volunteer in numerous ways, whether they come and push the cart around that have different snacks on it for the residents that are in hospice, or if it's them putting in socks into bags and having gloves and bags ready for patients. And we have it all at our site, just bagging. There was literally a list of like 35 different ways our kids could give back. So I'm on board with that also. We're trying to work on enhancing what our kids have been exposed to.
I like that idea, turning it upside down and asking, what do we have? What can we give to those in our communities is a great way to be. And what I hear you saying is that relationship building, that we accomplished with that family, help to be able to establish that trust. And how can we work to build relationships with those around us, in our neighborhoods? Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Well, I think that's all. Thank you all very much for being here. We're excited to be able to see schools get back into session. Thank you all for all the work that starts even before schools open, and obviously all the work that goes into making sure schools open up and ready to go. Dr. Anderson.
Thank you. As we conclude that presentation, we do have, she's now part of Teaching and Learning, Miss Norman, that's in the room, who was the principal at Chase, but Miss Spalding is on the screen along with Mr. Gay. And I just want to mention that because when she started, they were a school of improvement. They're not now. And being part of the East Topeka Piece and being one of our improvement specialists, she's actually continuing to mentor Chase and some of the other schools and be kind of a shepherd in terms of how do you move out an improvement and continue to have growth? Also, Stacy Kramer is typing up the document for you that really shows scores overall and action plans overall. So at the end of this, you'll get that final look at some specificity as well in that regard. We thank Stacy Kramer and Ms. Wallace's team, along with all of our administrators. Thank you, team. And Mr. Leopard, you're presenting with Central, right? Okay. He was like, don't call on me to present. All right. So you're going to be hearing from him next week. I was making sure I didn't miss somebody, seeing somebody back there. All right. With that, we're going to turn it back over to thank you so much. We're going to turn it back over to our teams that are presenting. The next team is our DCAC. So our parents are here this evening and they've been so patient. So they have their report ready for you this evening. I'm going to turn it over. Should I turn it over to the president? And she's going to come up to the mic to take that, and then I'll grab a couple of mics as people join her. And we'll start with some introductions of what school you represent and then others, and I'll bring the mic on over to you.
Sure, great. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, my name is Melissa Wangeman. I'm president of the District Advisory Council, what we call DCAC. And as you know, it serves as an advisory role to the board I would like to thank the board members who've been attending our meetings this last year. I know sometimes that's by assignment, but I also think we have quite a number of regulars as well, and I do appreciate you taking time to join us as well. And of course, we appreciate the opportunity tonight to present our study reports. With me tonight are some of our officers, including our Secretary and Parliamentarian, Dr. Ivan Bruder. Thank you. We also have our past president, Lisa Collette.
Hi, my name is Lisa Collette, and I'm past president, and I also held other positions as well in DCAC. Oh, I apologize. I have a daughter at McEachern, and then I had a son at French, so currently I'm in limbo. I'll be going to Topeka West, so hopefully they'll accept me as DCAC representation.
Yes, we will. We also have our study coordinator who has served in the role for the last 2 years. It's Vanella Hasanovic-Little. And not with us this evening is our Vice President, Sean Guile. Also out in the audience there, we have the chairs of our study committees. We've got Lisa Collette that you just met, who co-chaired the High Stakes Assessment Study Group with Helen Swanson, and Sasha Cushenberry, who chaired the Enrichment Programs in High School Study Group.
Hello, everybody. I'm representing McEachern. Nice to see everybody.
And also joining us is committee member Melanie Gordon, who's on the Enrichment Committee with us.
Hi, I represent McClure Elementary.
And I believe I forgot to explain what school I represent. I have a junior at Topeka West. So with those introductions, I will go ahead and turn over the first study topic with Lisa Collette. We actually decided to go by alphabetical order. Colette actually comes just a little bit in front of Cushenberry. So Colette is going to go, I'm sorry, Lisa will do the presentation on the high stakes assessments first, and then Sasha will do the discussion on the enrichment programs. And as I understand the order, I believe, Mr. Chairman, you'll hear both reports and then take action after both reports. Is that correct? Okay. With that, I will turn it over.
We'll receive the report.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I would like to apologize a little bit. It's been since May since I've really truly looked over this information. So if I mess up on anything, I do apologize. So first of all, I'd like to introduce the rest of the members of my committee. It was myself, Lisa Collette, Veronica Munoz, and Helen Swanson and Dave Wood. We were the main people that had worked on this study topic. So when the committee began discussing this topic, we understood that there was a need to align the definition of a high stakes testing itself. As our study continued, our questions formed within 2 domains, parents and staff. At the heart of each domain were these underlying questions: what assessments are conducted and what goal, and how are results used in regards of intervention. So the methods that we used were gaining the district information for the assessments so that they have available and the ones that are given to students. We also interviewed different staff within the district on assessments. And then we explored literature on this topic and then conducted a survey for the parents and the staff. So from the methods from the district information, we discovered there are 12 required assessments. 4 optional assessments are given by grade level. Each grade level has 2 assessments that they are supposed to take each year. And then state assessments are given to grades 3 through 8, 10, and 11. From this information, when we were looking at these assessments, a big question was, what what do we do with this information, or what does the district do with this information once they receive it from these assessments? And so our concern was what kind of interventions are in place in the district already. And so Ms. Wallace and her team came to one of our meetings via Zoom and presented a presentation that they have over interventions that are already in place in the system or in the district. And so one of them is the CI3T model, then the general education intervention, or GEI. And with that, with the GEI, it broke it down into the different levels of school. So like elementary school, middle school, and high school, and what's available as far as interventions are concerned on those each stages. And then lastly, whether or not a student would benefit from a 504 or an IEP. So another thing that we looked into was building level narratives. And so each of us went to the different levels of schools and talked to either the principal or someone who was on staff there, like a teacher, and asked them about the different assessments that they give, and how often are they given, just kind of like their thoughts on the assessments, and if they thought what kind of interventions that they thought students would need from them, if they thought that what the information that they got from the assessments was beneficial or not. So the different schools that we asked was Chase Middle School, French Middle School, Jardine, Capital City, Avondale, Topeka High, Scott Dual Language, and then Sheener. As far as literature is concerned, we had 10 different sources. The website, articles, and publications were reviewed, and the different areas that we looked at were assessments, at-risk students, accommodations, feedback, and parent involvement. So from this literature review, the feedback from the literature was students must understand what they're being assessed on and have the opportunity to self-assess their own learning. And then success criteria, learning intentions, and then for parent involvement through communication, sharing, student samples, providing feedback, and holding student-led conferences, which in our district, I know that we already do that. So from there, after reviewing the different assessments that are offered, looking at the different interventions, reviewing the literature, we decided to survey parents and staff. We had this staff survey contained 12 questions focusing on training, assessment familiarity, and using assessment data to plan lessons. And then the parents survey contained 9 questions focusing on assessment familiarity, access to assessment scores, understanding of assessment scores, and intervention strategies. Both surveys included opportunity to provide comments and suggestions and recommendations. So each survey had their last question allowed for them to provide other feedback. And so when we were going through all of the surveys, we took the other feedback and used that to kind of help guide some of our recommendations. We are fortunate enough to have Veronica Munoz translate our surveys for us. So that way there was an opportunity for, Spanish-speaking families, bilingual families to be able to participate in the survey as well. Our surveys were released April 25th, and then they concluded May 9th. We are actually pretty proud of how many responded to our survey. We had 604 staff that responded, and then 349 parents. So we thought that was pretty cool, because sometimes in the past when we've done surveys, it hasn't been well received, or it got lost in the emails. So we're pretty happy. It's probably a little hard to see this, but this is just kind of comes from the parent survey on all of the different assessments that they were familiar with already. And some of the major ones, of course, were ACT was 71%, Scantron was 57%, help was 50%, and then PSAT was 49%. And of course, a lot of this is based off of the level of school that their child is in. But the majority of the parental survey responses were from the elementary school level. Some of the areas that parents lacked in familiarity with was DLM, NAEP, and then my IGPIS. So I wasn't really surprised with the DLM, only because it's kind of geared more towards a specific a population of students. So I assumed that most parents probably wouldn't be as familiar unless they had a child that did that. On the parent survey, so of note, select assignments are administered at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. The survey did not consider the building level, rather a holistic assessment approach. So the survey highlighted the full parental gaps. 30% of parents do not have access to student assessment results. 34% of parents lack the requisite comprehension of assessments. 26% of parents feel they don't have the opportunity to inquire of assessment results. 10% did not discuss assessments with their students, and then 32% lacked familiarity with available interventions. The one that I was happy to see as only being 10% was the fact that only 10% said that they didn't discuss their assessments. So it was great to see that overall, in general, most parents are talking to their kids about assessments that they're taking. So recommendations for the parent survey: provide parents with definitions of each assessment when conducted in the purpose. Because on number 10, on question 10, that was one of the main things is parents were like, well, what's the purpose of this? Why are we always testing? Why are the students always being assessed? Why are they always being tested? And then place assessments on Tyler Assist to allow parents to gain access to results. I know when I go into Tyler Assist, I do see where there's that assessment link right there, but when you click on it, for my children, it says no assessments available. So I didn't know if originally that's maybe the purpose for that. So that was just a recommendation to be able to put that up there for parents to see. Establish a system that is mandatory for the parents to acknowledge observing assessments. If the student encounters issues, especially with regard to interventions, teachers need to point the parent or student in the right direction. And then ensure teachers are fully trained on assessments and have the ability to explain results to parents. So this next slide shows the staff survey results. The majority, 78% of teachers and staff received assessment training is what they stated on their survey. The majority of teacher staff have an understanding of variation of summative and formative assessments. The majority of staff feel they have access to assessments and use the results when planning instruction and intervention. One thing we wanted to make note of is the survey did not discriminate between teachers and staff among those not familiar with the assessments. Might come from classified positions as well. So for coming off of the staff survey, the recommendations that we have would be to better understand and use assessment results, provide staff access to resource and materials tailored to assessments. So this was 54% of what the staff responded with. And then to better the assessment process, 1, provide staff an opportunity to be involved in the planning. 2, for staff to receive the requisite training. And 3, to allow staff the opportunity to provide feedback to the planning assessment team, which was 30%. On the last one was 30% of respondents. And then they also stated easy access to assessment results on Tyler Assist. Thank you. And if you have any questions.
Yeah, thanks so much. Questions on this? Oh, I'll start off with a question, which was, let's take a look here. This survey did not consider the building level, rather holistic assessment approach. Does that mean that as opposed to looking at the results, just one every school by school, you lumped everything together? Is that what that means?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had, yeah, basically.
Other question? Yes, Ms. Stewart Campbell.
Yeah, thank you for this. I read through this before and kind of nerdy. I kind of nerd out on assessment stuff. So I thought it was very, very interesting. And thank you also to your wife for translating it into Spanish for all the Spanish speaking families. Yeah, I learned a lot. I wasn't familiar with the Armed Services Assessment Battery. That was a new one. I didn't know that was one that we gave. And I really like your recommendation of placing assessment information on Tyler Assist. I hope we can do that because I'd like to know that too as a parent.
Yeah, that was actually almost a recommendation with our own group as well. We just like, why can't we, because Tyler Assist is, as a parent is great. And if you have the assessments up there, students can also look at their assessments as well as their parents. Because if most parents are like me who are in Tyler Assist like several times a week, they shouldn't have any problems.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So if I want to know assessment data, I know I can like call the school and I feel comfortable with that. But I know many parents maybe don't know they have that option or feel comfortable. So I think.
Yeah, and I was really I wasn't surprised, but I was happy to see really after going through everything, the district, I feel, and we felt already has a great intervention plan in place for students. And I do speak personally. So I'm just saying, I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised. I was happy just to see that there's a lot of options for our students already. So.
Other questions? Everybody say yes, Dr. Schumacher.
Yeah, thank you again for all the great work. DCAC does a lot of great work. This question is kind of more for Ms. Wallace. As far as the recommendations from staff, as far as the kind of the planning of assessments, it's hard with assessments because there's a wide range and a broad definition. It could be state assessments, it could be other things, but can you speak to some of the recommendations for staff as far as the opportunity to be involved in the planning, receiving the training, like what we do now, and is there opportunity for growth in that?
So yes, it depends on the particular assessment. There are windows for each of the assessments, so a time frame in which they need to be given. However, there are, like for example, Fastbridge, that is a school-based assessment. So we have a team of teachers that come together and they can plan what that looks like and what within the month of that window, how they administer it in their building. There are others that are a little bit more specific. CAP assessment, we have a lot of guidelines from KSDE around that. And it may be simply that they aren't aware that they can participate in that. And so we can do a better job of making sure they know that.
Yes, thank you. The great job on summarizing all that you did great. There are quite a few assessments and not all of them apply to all grade levels, as you probably discovered along your investigation. We do offer ACT scores on Tyler Assist. We import that stuff, but we could certainly expand it. I just want to make sure that parents understand what those numbers mean. When you mentioned the MyIGDs or KELPA, it's one thing to put the scores out there, but I want to be able to explain to parents what that means. I think that's a responsible way to approach it, but we certainly can definitely start exploring that with Mr. Gowan, getting that data imported into our Tyler system. So I don't see a problem with that. Dr. Schumacher, what was your original question?
I was just
Staff development.
yeah, with staff development.
And I think Dr. Kip, on the heels of that, we really could have, because the board, you guys will be talking about these and then give us direction, but we really could have a KELPA night, for example, and parents learn, okay, here's where it is. In order to get access, please watch this video or come to this item, 5-10 minute little item to show you how to access that. That would be ways we can do that. ACT is already on there, but we could have that for any of the assessments and add those. Principals can already access all of it. So it's all already on Tyler, I guess is my point. And principals can access all of that, and they do with data consoles. So it's really just opening up the portal to others who could have access. Teachers can access all of that assessment data. It's already on Tyler for them as well. So we'll explore professional development for families in addition to teachers, and then give them access at the same time that's already available to educators.
One thing I will add, just as we're shifting from Scantron to the MAP assessment, they have a wonderful, huge parental and student involvement component. For example, the reports are written at a high school level, so parents can understand what their multiple languages. So that is one area for growth. I think we need to boost having more parental involvement and students setting their own goals for the school year.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I had a question. I couldn't find the slide again, but there was a part where it said 30% of parents said they had trouble accessing information. What do you, why does 30% struggle? Is that technology? Is that access to teachers? What was that about?
Yeah, it was a culmination of several things, what you just said, basically. And I think just, yeah, access to, like you said, technology, and then just, I mean, being able to find it. And those are, I mean, what you said basically is true, is
Okay, so that's something we probably need to look at too. 30% of our parents is a lot. That's a big number that we need to be concerned about. Thank you.
And I would imagine it's not just a sort of one-time deal. When we do a large training to make sure at the beginning that parents know where to go, how to access it. But every year it's something that has to be continual, and it's a never-ending sort of struggle to be able to make sure, Any other questions? Are there other reports you're going to share with us today? Is that right?
there's one more study topic report.
Okay, let's give you time to go over that.
Oh, well, Sasha be doing that one, but I just want to say thank you for listening. And then I also wanted to say thank you to Mr. Gowan, because he helped us quite a bit this past year with our Zoom meetings, and just he did quite a bit for us. So thank you.
Is once they give all of their reports, you'll have conversation over the course of next meeting, and continue to give us direction of things that you just would like to see us explore, such as greater professional development. But this gives you time to hear the report, understand it, absorb it, and then give administration some direction moving forward. And then we'll report back to the DCAC some things that we will be doing. Somewhere around September or so, we'll be sharing them with them some items based on your conversation that we know we'll be doing this year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sasha Cushenberry. Again, I'm representing McEachran, and with me I have Miss Melanie. She is also going to kind of tag team this presentation with me. But we have come a long way. We have come a long way. And so if you didn't know, this has been a topic for the last few years now. Pretty important. So it was pretty big. This is my first year with you guys. I've had a great time and learned a lot. So last year, I don't think I need this. Do you guys? Okay. Okay. So last year, they focused on mental health, which I think is awesome. This year, we wanted to kind of spin it off of mental health and focus more on life skills. So there are a lot of definitions for enrichment, and that is something I thought was important for myself, being in my first time coming in, that I really understood what exactly I needed to do and how, to actually steer our committee in the right direction for our students. And so some of the definitions, some of them touch on, specifics like those who are doing accelerated advancement, or just, the gifted classes, right? And some of them are focusing on just saying that, anything outside of the school curriculum is considered considered enrichment. Awesome. So for Kansas, it's just, all of it is enrichment. But for us, we wanted to focus on making sure that we include all of our students. So that's what kind of sticks out with our definition from the others, is just making sure that we figure out something that includes everyone. And so some things that we started out with to look at is exploring the literature on the topic, of course, making sure we have all the right definitions and what we're looking for. We also had some lovely guest speakers. This also came to speak with us as well to give us some great information, and we're going to share a little bit of that with you later. Also, we surveyed our parents and our staff members, and we will talk about that more in depth. And then we also reviewed a lot of the resources that we already have in 501. We wanted to make sure that whatever we do, we don't double up on top of what we already have, but we're actually creating something new, fresh, and different for everybody that's involved.
So we're going to talk about the current enrichment programs that TPS offers. My kids are elementary, and it's been a long time since I've been in high school, and because we're focused on high school, I'm trying to remember some of the things. I also was in a different district, so it was nice having Sasha actually graduated from Topeka West. And we have people that helped on the committee that had children at the high school level in our district as well. So, but with that said, when Ms. Wallace came to join us as a guest speaker, my mind was a bit blown because all of the current enrichment programs were very unfamiliar. So it was very, very nice having her. We learned a ton. So some of the traditional in-school programs, not just in 501, but obviously across the country, you're going to see orchestra, fine arts, speech, etc. Some of the more non-traditional enrichment programs, advanced placement classes, concurrent college credit, which learned a lot more about that, which I think 501 does great with that. Washburn Tech, TCALC, ROTC, study abroad exchange programs, and pop-up clubs. So the study direction shifted from traditional to the concept of enriching the student's future with skills and competencies that will serve them in real life. Again, we were focusing on core social emotional learning skills teens need to prepare for future past high school. If anybody else is with me, I felt a bit lost after high school. Just doing the simple life skills, calling the doctor's office to make your own appointment. Learning how, well, I had to relearn it because high school was 20 years ago, but putting your card into the machine correctly, things like that. Getting your own car insurance, understanding the policies, things like that. It's something we take for granted, I think, once we're out of high school for so long. So we needed to bring that back to the high schools and not necessarily rely on the parents to teach all these things. So going back to our 5 core, self-awareness, social awareness, which is huge. Self-management also goes along with time management, responsible decision-making, and building relationships. So some of the daily living skills that we identified that are considered essential for success in independent living, noting that some may assume that this is common knowledge or something that all kids are raised with these. We unfortunately cannot make that assumption because every household is different. So we really wanted to focus on these. Personal hygiene, excuse me, communication skills, organizational skills, positive relationships, job skills, financial management, health, belief system foundation, and everyday tasks. So we did also send out a survey. We sent those out on April 25th. These are to high school parents and staff members to gather perceptions of the enrichment opportunities, the current ones and ones that may be needed. So we had responses from 109 parents and 117 staff. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Sasha to go over results.
Beautiful. So I thought that we had a great turnout with our surveys. We didn't have huge numbers, but we did have a lot of our top high schools participate in the survey, so I thought that was great. And as you can see, our results, we definitely had Topeka High and Highland Park and Topeka West, and unfortunately we didn't have the other three available to get the results in, but we made it work with what we got. And so what we wanted to make sure was that we asked the parents and the teachers exactly from their perspective what they think our students need. They're with them majority of the time. They understand and see, what is going on that we don't get to see throughout the day. So we wanted to make sure we got their feedback. And we asked our parents what they thought are some courses or some skills that they think that their students might need. And so as you can see, a lot of them said that they would be interested in having a vehicle maintenance class. I think that is super important because, usually right dead in the middle of high school, you're looking to get a vehicle. So knowing that information, how to take care of it, how to buy one, insurance, all those fun things, I think should definitely be incorporated at the high school level. Time management, of course, I think that's kind of self-explanatory, but actually learning how to manage your time, how to study, how to manage getting a job, and some are even taking care of siblings and parents and things like that, and just being able to manage their time so that they can be better students, better individuals overall. Childcare, personal hygiene, and laundry. I think my favorites are personal hygiene and laundry. Because, high schoolers, once they get into sports and things like that, showers just kind of, and it's like, you gotta get in some water, so those types of things, just reminding them, teaching them how, learning about their bodies, and different things that happen. And yes, we have, certain classes that touch on those things, but those classes, I'm almost positive, don't actually dig into the choices that are made at the high school level and beyond, that can really affect, who you are in the long run. So just making sure to have those core concepts in the system. And so for our staff members, we asked them, of course, what they think should be taught in the curriculum that is not already. And to our surprise, they agreed with us on life skills. As you see, that was the top voted. They also talked about budgeting and financing and communication skills, which are all great, skills that everybody needs to be adults. And so we thought that was great that they were on board with us and kind of understood the path, that we were trying to take with this committee. So moving forward with that, we also wanted to tap into self-care strategies just to kind of see, a lot can happen in high school. It can be very overwhelming. And so just to see from a perspective of the staff members what they thought our students need, throughout their day to help them be able to come to class and actually pay attention. And as you can see, quality sleep is a huge one. There's a lot going on in some students' lives, and half of them don't get half of us don't even get a fresh 8 hours of sleep, So imagine with students who have so much going on in their lives already, right? They're not fresh, they're not on top of their game, and all of these things tie into each other with time management and, just having these different skills to help you before you graduate. I want to put that out there. That is the whole point of this, is to make sure that we have these skills before our students actually get their diplomas, so that once they graduate, they can take everything that they learn along with the traditional, academic, and continue to be better and not have to wait until, a few years into college before they learn, certain adult aspects. So recommendations that we came up with. So one thing that Ms. Wallace shared with us and that stood out to us was the pop-up clubs. We love this idea because it can be implemented into our schools where we have something after school, a teacher that is available to be in the room, and the idea is to have someone come in, whether it be a profession, it can even be involving our community with some of our parents and teachers, and coming in and teaching some of these life skills. If there is a professional who, you know, works on vehicles, can come out and actually hands-on show them how to change the oil, or even just as simple as how to change the tire. You know, just something hands-on where they can actually come to this space, right, and actually learn something outside of the regular curriculum and actually get knowledge that they're going to need moving forward for the rest of their lives. Speakers, right, and so even if it wasn't possible for us to be able to do this inside of the schools for like a pop-up club, just being able to see if teachers would even be open to having some professionals come out during their school time, during their class time, to show different, like, for example, if there's a certain science course, you know, where somebody can come who may be a different professional in something that they're teaching, to come and teach the students something inside the course, you know, like sometimes it's good for students to hear from others rather than, you know, just constantly the same, you know, teachers every single day. It's good to mix it up and to get some different information from different resources. This also helps with communication, building relationships with their teachers, having them actually have access to people outside and learning other, you know, other professions and other things that they probably haven't even fathomed that they could do that are out there. And this just kind of opens that up for them. Life skill resource website. And so all of these things that we are coming up with, all of these skills, finding a way to put them on a website so that even if we can't be in person, even if we can't bring somebody to the schools, we still have these resources somewhere on a website so that not only our students can come and learn these skills, but also have our parents available to be able to come and learn these skills as well. And so this can be in modules, this can be in videos, this can be in, you know, written reports, however we can get it done, as long as there's some type of resource for our students, staff, and parents to go to be able to look and learn these skills. And then financial literacy program.
Yeah. So there was actually, and same as Lisa, this was May when we left off on this. So I did review everything. And something, again, I'm not familiar with because I didn't graduate from the district, but Ms. Wallace had mentioned, sorry, I'm looking back here at my notes. It was the Reality U program. And there was something, maybe at one point they thought it was maybe called Adventureland or some comparable name to that was similar, but financial literacy program. So we could, obviously we know that money makes the world go round, and students often don't know how to manage that. So it's down to the simplest thing of how to write a check or balance, look at your bank account, how to access that kind of information. Another great resource that is not recreating the wheel would be something like Junior Achievement, which could also fit into the category of the Speaker Bureau as well. Myself and Sasha have done Junior Achievement before, and it's so easy. But it's just, you know, it's having more transparency maybe amongst the staff members and making sure that they know that that resource is available. And then obviously the community, we have to find the volunteers and whatnot, but that's something the community works on, not necessarily you guys. So, those are a few things that the financial literacy program I think is huge, especially now because we're kind of in a virtual age. So we might not always shake someone's hand, but we still need to learn how to pay our bills. So,
just to kind of tag off the financial literacy, I did have the pleasure of joining a Junior Achievement this year, and I just wanted to point out that it really is a great program. It's my first time ever doing anything like that, and I kind of winged it, I'm not gonna lie, but it was an awesome learning opportunity for me. The kids were awesome, and I mean, like, I never would have thought that they would even have known some of the things that they knew. They completely blew my mind, and it made it such an amazing experience. It was an amazing experience getting to graduate them at the end, having cupcakes and just a whole celebration for everything that they learned. The teacher was amazing. should be, like really pushed in our school system. Also getting to know, the kids and just creating those relationships and helping them build relationships and things like that. So, yeah, those are our recommendations. We're really excited about this. Hopefully you guys are too. We're open for questions.
Thank you so much for all of your work on putting this together. Questions off the top for our presenters? Yeah, Dr. Schumacher.
This isn't necessarily questions, but a couple comments. It's Adventure Center was the that was the best thing ever. I could bring back Adventure Center. That would be a crown for the board. No, it was a good time. For the life skills, the pop-up clubs, one thing I thought of, we do have a lot of students that go to Washburn Tech and learn a lot of automotive skills, and having pop-up clubs where they could help teach their peers, I think would be pretty amazing. And then the Speakers Bureau. So I think having a repository of names and numbers and emails would be great. Generally, it's who you know to try to get and come talk to your class. And then do they like to talk or not? And so if we can just find those people and have it not just available to the staff and the teachers that know other people, but all staff at all the high schools so that there's equal opportunities, I think that would be great. So I appreciate your guys' work on this. Thank you. Adventure Center.
I remember that. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, looking at, thank you for this. This was great. Looking at your resource page, I was like, what is this iMom? So I clicked on it, and next thing I'm a subscriber. So every day now I've been getting messages from iMom, and actually utilize some of that information. So this is some really good stuff. About the pop-up club, I love that. And I wondered who would take the lead? Would this be maybe in seminar time? So that was one that I had, was when exactly would this happen? And then the other is who takes, Dr. Schumacher mentioned, that repository, good word, of people. Well, who would take the lead? Would be the seminar teacher, or I'm just thinking logistically. Any thoughts on that?
Want to go ahead, Miss Wallace? She was kind of teaching us on this, and I remember kindergarten level here.
So our high schools already have pop-up clubs. They're generally during the school day, every once in a while, and they're usually led by a staff person. And it could just be, in fact, one of the examples Miss Morrissey gave me was they have a teacher who likes to knit. She had a pop-up club. Anybody who wanted to learn how to knit could come to her room during that time. I'm not exactly sure what time of day, but they do it periodically during the school day.
Now, the schools also have club day, particularly at Topeka High. So in club day, that all they do are clubs that day. So more than likely, it also kind of intertwines with that club day activity.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that I know is that none of us could possibly be aware of everything that's going on in our high schools. And I am curious, is there a way to be able to, for those who are in our high schools, figure out what of this list of recommendations already has some work being done? And are there some things that still are left, that do need attention and need perhaps addressing? I wonder, Dr. Anderson, any thoughts on ways to be able to inform ourselves as far as these recommendations, how we could figure out what's already receiving some attention and what could?
I think one of the items we could do, first of all, the reports were excellent. Thank you both for both groups. Is to take those reports and then highlight. Mrs. Wallace and I can sit down along with Ms. Sharp and whomever else that it really impacts, and really just kind of list. Here's what we do. Here's what we need to do more. Here's what we do, but we don't do enough. Or perhaps T-High has pop-up clubs, but maybe Highland Park doesn't, because you saw there was 13% of the family that responded. So I think from their presentation this evening, that would be a direction of taking both reports, looking at what are areas that we know are doable in the immediate future, what's kind of long-term, and then what are things that we're just already doing? And it's just affirmation that we should be doing it consistently, maybe across the district. I think we can take that and then bring that back to the board based on what we heard tonight. And then, you know, you for direction. I think we've got some direction in some areas already, or at least consensus about some of the things you'd like to see, like professional development seems to be a shared continued professional development. So if that's a direction, Mr. Munoz, you're comfortable with, the teaching and learning team, and then the teams that deal with social emotional health can look at that. And of course, Dr. Kip, we'll just look at what can we, like for example, Tyler, we already have the scores out there, but what can we open up now that doesn't need a lot of training? And then what might we train on for later? We'd love to bring that back to the next even board meeting, because we're talking about academic achievement. That's a great time with both of these topics to just bring back some possibilities of what can be done in quick fashion and what's duplicative potentially. That sound okay, President Munoz?
That sounds me, for the rest of you, does that sound like a good direction to take? Okay, yes, please, Mr. Munoz.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate all of you, but we know this is months and months of work, so we appreciate you getting this together and being here with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the next item on our agenda is board member comments. So with the Dr. Bonebreak.
As you all know, I'm a firm believer that people move to Kansas or anywhere, depending on the education their children get. I think this is an improvement. However, our administration and legislature of Kansas seems to be intent on giving tax breaks to big corporations, and that may be some. We could fund schools better. I was talking with an ex-school superintendent. Special education is supposed to be financed 92%. 501 is financed mid-70s. And there's at least $3 million a year that 501 is not getting for special education, and it comes out of, and it has to come from somewhere. And so it was suggested to me by Brenda that we get the contact information for our representatives. So we could kind of suggest to them that financial support is important, and it is stipulated by statute that special education be financed to 90%. And for at least 10 years, it has not been. So if you take 3.2 million minimum times 10, that's a little bit of cash. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. But it don't basic purposes. Nevertheless, I'd like to see us make some contact with our local representatives and remind them that, you know, as I've told you before, John Carlin in the mid-80s had a committee formed. They discovered that people move places where one of the factors is what kind of education will their children get. Oh, we could get more financial input into education, implement the GCAC ideas, increase the length of the school year, enrich the whole thing. We're doing some baby steps. We got summer school, but there's no advanced classes. It's more remedial maintenance. Well, heard me rant enough.
Thanks so much. Dr. Schumacher.
Yes, so we had the technology committee think it was a week ago, Monday. We discussed a little bit about digital equity. We talked a little bit about online registration and the forms that we're trying to track as far as completion and all that for school coming up. And then implementing some of the new cybersecurity requirements so that we can stay in line with our insurance policy. And then also very exciting that we're only using 52.72 terabytes out of 100 of our data cap, because we were very close to 100 back in July. So that's exciting. I think for me, convocation was pretty amazing this morning. There's a lot of energy at 8 o'clock, so I think I'm like exhausted right now. But I really appreciate everybody that was there and that was there online. And I'm very excited for the school year. I think that's all I have.
Thanks so much. Mr. Tatum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to ditto those comments from Dr. Schumacher. I thought that convocation was absolutely amazing. And it seems hard to believe that it was 3 years since the district's done the last one. Hopefully we can continue doing them on an annual basis and not have to wait a period of 3 years. But that was absolutely, I think, what everybody kind of a shot of adrenaline to get us supercharged heading into the school year. I just have one item, maybe two. One particular event that's occurring that I wanted to shine a spotlight on. The Topeka Bathhouse Players are putting on a performance of The Little Shop of Horrors. And it is made up of high school students from the Topeka area. And I received an email from Mr. Charlie White, who is with the International Thespian Society. I think he's a Topeka High student. But just kind of wanted to highlight the idea that these young folks are doing their performance of Little Shop of Horrors at the Helen Hawker Theater. Performances started on July 22nd and they actually run until 7th of August. And they are running on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 7 o'clock p.m. So there's actually one right now as we sit here. Tickets are only $13, so would absolutely encourage you to take that in if you've got some time this weekend. It would appear that this is the last week that they're going to do it, leading right up until the start of the school year. So definitely wanted to give them a shout out and really, really impressed by their courage, I guess, or interest in doing a very well loved performance like Little Shop of Horrors. I think the other thing I just kind of wanted some clarification on, Mr. President or Dr. Anderson. We've got this document. I didn't know we were going to talk about it at some point in the meeting, but the first week of school itinerary, and just wanted to get a little extra insight. It's got board members listed by the names of the schools. Just wanted to kind of get a sense of what the expectations are surrounding this particular document.
If I may, President Munoz, I can share with you what generally happens. Not every board member goes and visits schools, but some do. And so we just pulled what was done in past years and just randomly put names. If you were here and you already went to a school, you're probably at that school. If you've inquired about a particular school, we might have put your name with that school. And then some years, some board members don't go because, for example, Mr. Tatum, I know you and Ms. Stewart Campbell and all of you actually have visited schools pretty regularly. You don't need a special day to do that. But that very first day, for those that want to see how's the first day going, And then we assign an administrator with you that'll meet you there the first day. We take a lot of pictures on that first day of school. So when we make that annual report calendar, we use a lot of those pictures for that actually. So if you want to go by at 7:30 or at 8 for 15 minutes, it used to be just one school. And then some board members wanted every school covered or something. So this is really when it gets to Mr. Munoz, or perhaps at this time, if you would like on the 10th or the 11th, there's some members in past years, my very first couple of years, people don't like going on the 10th because it's not the whole school. Some people. So if you would like to visit on the first day and you have a particular school in mind, our administrator, which includes Ms. Sharp and Mr. Robbins and team, they will meet you there and just kind of shepherd you around. We'll take a few pictures. That's first 10, 15 minutes. That's what that entails. Additionally, Mr. Munoz, the last meeting and this session, Dr. Schumacher asked about the vaccinations. They did agree on September the 10th. They will come out at the pantry at Jardine and they'll give booster shots. Does that help answer that, Mr. Tatum? So there's no expectation really. And often there are some members that either can't make it, don't want to make it on that day, or they go all year, so they don't need that special day.
Okay, yeah, that helps greatly. Thank you, Dr. Anderson.
So if you'd like to, while you're here this evening, given that school starts next week, if you would like to go to a particular school, may I go ahead and just proceed and ask the question, Mr. Munoz?
Yeah.
So Dr. Bonebrake, if would you like to visit a school on the first day? And in the past, you've done that on the 10th or the 11th. And if so, would you like to go to Shaner again, or is there a particular school that you'd like to go to this year? And I put that down this time. I know before Dr. Hackett took you with the little bitties because we kept using that picture of you dancing with children. But I put Topeka High down because they have restorative justice. And I thought you might have it, just because you brought that up previously, I thought you might have an interest to see what big old Topeka High looks like on that first day. On the 10th, where she only has 9th graders, or if you want to see all of them on the 11th, they start school at 7:30. So it'd be 7:30 to 8. So Topeka High, oh, that's right, the parking at Jardine. So Topeka High, would you like to go to Topeka High and Jardine? You start off at one and then go to the next? Perfect. We have you down for Topeka High and Jardine. Ms. Wallace, can you take those notes, or Ms. Fleck-Talley? Oh, Ms. Fleck-Talley has it, or the whole team has it. I got a great team. All right, so with that, Dr. Schumacher, would you like to visit on the 10th or the 11th?
Yeah, I'd love to go to Meadows.
Right. Do you want to go when all the kids are there on the 11th, sir? Or would you want to just go when the kindergartners and
Well, they'll all be there on the 10th.
all right, never mind. They're all there on the 10th. That's right. So the 10th?
Yeah.
All right. So 8 o'clock, we'll have a team member. And I'm sorry, Ms. Wallace, should be 8 or 8:30 that we've done this in the past.
8. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the past, I think we did 9 o'clock then. Either it was 8:30 or 9. So if you're good with 8:30, then that allows for you to be there when they get off the bus and greet them and get those photos.
That'd be great.
Great. So Meadows. Moving from there, Mr. Tatum, would you like to visit a school, and if so, which one and what day?
Actually, I'd like to give it a little more thought and then follow back up.
Just send me an email.
Okay.
And it could be the same school that someone else is already at. So
Sure.
right now we're presuming the 11th, when all kids are there, you're wanting to see, especially Topeka High. And that's when Jardine will be most interesting, Dr. Bonebrake, when everybody's there, the driving piece that you've been concerned about. All right, Mrs. Stewart Campbell, would you like to visit a school on the 11th or 10th?
Yeah, so on the 10th, I would like to go to Randolph.
Perfect.
And on the, and I think I'll just Randolph on the 10th.
Yeah, that's in your neighborhood too, right?
Yes. And on the 11th, if I could go to.
Oh, you're gonna go both days. Okay, so great. So the 10th at Randolph, and again at 8:30. That way you see them coming off the bus. We get photos of that. And then on the 11th at Landon at 7:30. Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Foley?
I will go to Ross. They all show up on the 10th,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
that right? I just know there's a lot of students there. They can use help getting kids to classrooms, so I'll do that. And then Chase invited me over after I left Ross to come over there, so I would be going over after I leave Ross over to Chase.
So then the 10th, we'll take you to, we'll meet you at Ross and then we'll head to Chase. Thank you.
Then it's me to go there. And then the next day, no one has Lemon Hill yet, right?
No, you want to, you want to do both days? You want to go on the 11th, Sloman Hill? Great. Thank you, Ms. Foley. Mr. Munoz, you have children at one of the schools, so I think I put you there.
I do, yeah. But I'm going to be, take them to school often, but I haven't been to McEachran and Shaner.
Okay. Hey, speaking of McEachran, while we were at convocation, Vic Williams left and had his first grandbaby and sent out photos today. So that was exciting for him at 11 something this morning. Okay, so we have Shaner and we have McEachran. All right. And you want to do that on the 10th, sir?
Yeah, that'll work.
Great. We'll send out an email tomorrow with my just normal regular weekly email. We'll put the schedule for everyone in there, and then we'll invite those that might not be here this evening to let us know if they'd like to change or add or attend any of those schools. Thank you for that. I'll turn it back over to the board for your more reports.
Thank you.
That's right, Shaner.
Well, then I'll just hold off, but McEachran will be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Again, I have an awesome team.
That's right.
Mr. Tatum, are you done?
I am.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for bringing that up. Mr. Stewart Campbell.
I have tickets to Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, one of our Topeka High thespians has one of the leading roles, so I'm gonna go see her. Convocation was incredible. It was so uplifting and just how everyone was pumped up, and it was just great. And I want to thank Dr. Anderson for guiding the convocation and all the planning that you and your team do. It's a great, really great way to start off the school year. And when Mr. Tatum said, oh, I can't believe it's been, and he said 3 years, right, because of the pandemic, I thought he was going to say, I can't believe that was today, because I can't believe that was today. But that was this morning. Anyway, it was really great. And that girl, Miss Tanner's daughter, how did you find her?
Convocation, when it started, that first year, I just said, let me find a student. So I literally over the summer just looked for students. And so she, in April, May, she was in 2 plays actually. And that's how she was identified. At the time, she was in 1st grade. It's really pretty remarkable finding her or DeAndre Phillips or any of our students. And we try to have elementary and the younger, because it really shows what 501 does at a very early age. She's been with us since preschool, as had DeAndre when we first picked him. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
Oh yeah, and that was super cool how you got DeAndre on the phone. Also, like wishing everybody a great year, and so people can see, look at this kid, he's now in college. Anyway, great job. I want to thank the Topeka Community Foundation because we approved tonight under the consent grants. We received $35,000 from the Topeka Community Foundation for the Shaner Early Learning Center for Little Stars Daycare. And so what that is, it's daycare for our staff. Daycare for our staff. And I think that's great. So I really want to thank Topeka Community Foundation for their generosity. And also, we have a few other grants. And another one I wanted to mention is that each of our middle schools received a little over $9,000 from Project Lead the Way, which implements project-based learning in middle school computer classes. So like app creators, there's an app for everything. And to know how to develop an app, what a great skill. So I think that's great. We got that going on. And just want to wish everybody a great start of the school year. Thank you.
Ms. Bowie.
Thank you for this morning and all the work that went into that. I've been out in several of the buildings and they look beautiful. They're just sparkling and shiny. So those awards tonight were wonderful to give out. because our buildings are just lovely and I don't really have anything else to say. I just want to go home. So thank you for the fun day.
First off, I'm really mad at myself that I had to work and I couldn't get away to be at the convocation. It's looked like a lot of fun, and when I get home, I'll look at the video that was live broadcasted, which is great for us who can't be there. But look forward to the next one next year. A couple of things. Let's see. First off, Mr. Stuart Campbell made reference to, and I'll just highlight a couple of others who have donated. First off, thank you to the Highland Park Central NIA, who worked together with the city of Topeka to be able to have a grant that's going to Highland Park Central Elementary School to be able to afford playground equipment. And so, as well as thank you to Mr. Robbins, who also helped to facilitate that and make that possible. The NIA, they're obviously looking to try and improve its community and sees our local elementary school as a central part of that. So I know that the kids appreciate that. As well, thank you to Advisors Excel and Louis Toyota, who also made some contributions in restricted funds to 501. So we appreciate their support. One thing I do want to make mention for you all is to be thinking about the Kansas Association of School Boards. They have a conference coming up. I believe it's in November, right? So we'll need to, if you think that's an opportunity you want to explore, please let Ms. Lister know what sessions that are available look interesting to you. Anytime, just like our staff, anytime that we can be able to take advantage of resources and opportunities to learn how to be better school board members. It just we benefit and 501 benefits. So keep an eye out on that. And yeah, I think beyond that, the only other thing that I'll just reiterate is sending our condolences and thoughts and prayers to the families who've lost loved ones. We have you in our on our mind, and if there's anything that can be done, please don't hesitate to ask. And with that, I think we'll go and recess. Thanks so much, everyone.